this is what happened. You know, he invited me to play. I joined up because as a friend, I like playing with friends. You know, the implication is that, we're trying to win some games, being as, we're playing the game on the same team, and we've talked about winning before. We're losing a game. Guy expresses frustration about losing said game. The expression, shouldn't fall on deaf ears, or else it wouldn't have been said. Right? Because it's rude to simply say and complain for, everybody else to just have to hear that and then share in that energy of upset complaint that, I'm frustrated, So in reality, what happens in this moment is either everybody remains silent and gets more of a worse time because we have now accepted the energy of complaint of, oh, he's having a bad time and we're losing, so now I'm having a bad time. Or somebody steps up to attempt to save the entire lobby from having a bad time by interpreting complaint as request for what we could do better as a team to improve and win this game currently, because what would help the mood of person expressing the dissatisfaction with the game is actually winning the game. So in taking this interpretation, I in fact am saving the vibe of the entire team from being not intentionally but accidentally through habit, through bad habit, disrespected by said teammate, which is then, which had been expressing frustrations. Because then, if I did, let's go over it again, hypothetically, allow it to simply fall on deaf ears and not reply or attempt to help or come up with strategy, the entire room would be looking at said person as a negative vibe and would then not enjoy playing a game with said person in the future, despite said person's claimed attempt to just like to enjoy having fun with friends. So now that that's been established, me having taken the action was out of my own niceness and out of my own friendship, kinship to said person that I didn't have to take, because it took more effort to then come up with something to which I was putting a risk on the other people on the team to disagree. I was risking my own essentially reputation as a player, as a friend, on the interpretations of other people who do have sway over the initial friend's opinion, as stated in previous interactions, and as will be again stated in this current interaction. So that all being the case, I noted all of that before even making the attempt, but I made the attempt anyway because I'm a good friend. So in doing so, in putting the risk out there, we changed up the strategy in the game, which, almost resulted in something happening despite the lack of skill from other teammates to coordinate with the two people that have at this point established a strategy. So, two people on the team who are half decent, at least within the context, the high skill players in the game, and by skill I mean those that other players can play off of easily and communicate well and can win 1v1s in the gunfights, and are making the simple plays so as to set up for the other people to play easily off of. Said other people don't play easily off of them and still continue to lose said game, further fueling the negative, the discontent among the individual player, and now potentially for the other players. So in between the matches, right, I assume the goal is we want to win said next match, especially since it had been now expressed doubly so that we should have won that last one, and I said, for this next one, we should both play perimeter so as to be the easy players to play off of, to which, you know, in my mind is the easiest one to establish, especially since the communication strategically between said two players that had been now establishing this communication has taken place over the course of a few days, you know, rather than said new players who may or may not even be open to attempt to change said strategy for the sake of team, who I don't know, of whom I don't know. And so, you know, this was, of course, taken negatively for some reason because it was a change, an adaptation that one person, said original person, would have to make to their own gameplay, where they would rather, you know, just in order to, I don't know, have a good time, in order to play more comfortably, wanted to play objective. So in this I conceded out of, you know, attempt to retain the positive vibe within the group of people, you know, having fun playing the game, because at the end of the day we are all playing this game to have fun. And so then that mantle was passed on by him asking openly maybe if somebody else could take on that role, to which I then obliged and gave a request, which the other one, J Daddy, whatever his fucking gamer tag was, took up, saying, exclaiming, claiming the role, exclaiming, yes, I will do it. And that was the agreement upon which the request was, which, you know, as we know at this point, you know, I keep doing the redundant reviews so as to not have it be repeated that it wasn't for the sake of winning the game, but rather for the sake of having fun, because of the fact that the obvious play at this point is to win the game so that we do have fun. That's just been repeated many different times, but I just don't want to be, I don't want somebody to hear what I'm saying and think, oh no, we're just playing to have fun. It's like, yeah, no shit, that's a given. That's why people play games. But the fun part of the game is also to win. And at this point in time, there was no question that was the case. Winning was the goal aimed for by the entire team. At least by the three people communicating said goal at the case, which is why the strategy was to be discussed beforehand to begin with. Otherwise it wouldn't have been. And this has been understood by everyone, as it is understood by everyone listening to this, as just a common sense thing. People playing a game like to win the game. That's the point of games. Heard there, welcome to fucking elementary school logic. Now that that's been simplified down to the level of impossible to refute fucking understanding, and that agreement had been agreed upon essentially, and on my behalf, my risk is on my reputation as a person attempting to win a game and also have fun at the same time is now on the line, since I was the one essentially leading the discussion of strategy, since nobody else picked it up when it was exclaimed on the ball that was passed to me by Maximum, because I could have stayed quiet. I could have remained quiet and allowed that to then simply continue and us lose games and be mad and sad about it and then leave at the end of the night like, now we're all sad. I don't even like this game anymore. Like it has so many different times with so many different groups and so many different players, because, you know, people are kind of the same energy in regards to that kind of fact. We don't like to lose. It is what it is. So, in order to avoid that, we came up with a strategy. Us three agreed upon a strategy, and in-game, mid-game, at the beginning of the game, it literally was stated seconds before the game started. Game starts, and first thing I noticed, we actually managed to get some setup going, and then the second that setup starts, right, the agreed upon setup that we agreed upon as a team before the game even fucking started, guess who breaks setup? Person who agreed upon it. And then guess who, I'm saying guess, it's not really a guess, it's fucking obvious. Who, guess what happened? You know, I called it out, an attempt to get us back on track, which could have been as simple as, hey, I notice you're not hanging to the perimeter like we agreed. Can you maybe get back to said perimeter? And it would have been like, oh yeah, my bad, I forgot, you know, and then easy fix, get back to perimeter. But, you know, what happened? Not that easy fix. What happened was argumentative tone and disrespect spitting in the face of not me, but me and the rest of the team who was there for the initial agreement and who said, oh yeah, no, I definitely remember that. But despite that being the case, argument was still had. And not only was argument had, you know, I just wiped their team, which was a stupid argument, but you know, it is a argument nonetheless, which begs counter argument, because people don't argue unless they want to either shut people down like dogs or be open to a counter argument. And if you argue and you're not open to a counter argument, then you're simply disrespecting everybody in the group. So I, attempting to lubricate the social atmosphere to be positive, give as polite a refutal as I possibly can in said counter. I could have been a dick. I could have said, this is why we're going to lose. This right here is why we're going to lose, and why you suck as a human being, and why you're being disrespectful, and why you really don't have even close to an elementary fucking level of understanding of how the fucking world works, and how to talk to people, and how to play the game, and why you should uninstall. I could have been that person, but instead, I attempted again, a third time, to be fucking nice and say, no, look, I understand that that's what you think is the positive in this scenario, but as you can see, as demonstrated by the events that take fold as we're talking about it, which did take fold as we were talking about it, our team got wiped because of said play that he did. And so therefore my demonstration was granted to me by the game itself playing out in the way that I knew it would play out should the event that he took be taken. So therefore it was a twofold proof given, not an disrespectful dissertation on his entire negativity as a being and his disrespectful social attitude, which personally I don't feel really belongs in Halo to begin with, or in people attempting to have the camaraderie but play a game to begin with. Despite all that being the case, he continued to then argue, not using argument, not using logical refutal of, oh, no, but now let me demonstrate why I am right, or no, let me exclaim why your logic is false. No, he refuted with an emotional, tantrum-like, childish, immature, fucking tonal, yeah, I get it, like a fucking bitch kid who needs to be, like, who's just never raised by his parents correctly. That's exactly the tone of how he replied. And then guess what happened? Immediately after that tone he replied in, I was called out for being disrespectful. Me, the person who had put up with bullshit at this point about 4 to 5 times within the span of, what, 5 minutes? And then I am expected to shut up because one person, quote unquote, just wants to play comfortably how I want to play. And then on top of that said, didn't you say not to tell people how to play? Despite the context of when I said that being the key factor that was hidden because of the fact that I said it during somebody saying it, one, in a disrespectful way initially, which is why I snapped and called it out to begin with, and two, in a way that was not, you know, what was it? The word constructive? Not constructive, not amiable, not friendly, not helpful to anybody in any way, and also not in the same category of what I was doing, because the implication with saying that I said don't tell people how to play was that I was somehow telling people how to play, which had not been the case. We had suggested, firstly, he was the one that suggested, can somebody else take this role? Which then it was a throw up, it was a pass to me, which then I took that pass. That someone else, specifically the person calling me out for it this time, was the one that initiated the request that he is now trying to say that I came up with the tell to the person of how to play. So it is not only a dishonest but nefarious attempt at shutting me down for the sake of you, the person who called it out to begin with, to shut everyone up around him because they want everybody to just be quiet and let him in particular step on other people's, i.e. my and other teammates, the other third, fourth person who was there, who really wasn't really part of the scenario, but who was also having to put up with this disrespectful tone that was given, that was shown. Have a good time. That sort of shit is what I'm talking about when I say everybody in the world is a fucking pussy bitch who doesn't understand respect. Why is it like this? Why do I have to go into these long form breakdowns of logic just to fucking show people, and no one is here to fucking listen because no one gets it, because the people who get it are in the scenario to begin with, and they only get their fucking side of the goddamn fucking story because no one else wants to really put up with this shit, because everyone's got their own lives and miserable shit to complain about and fucking participates in the bullshit that I'm speaking of. This is the entire fucking planet. I don't find a single fucking person who understands the goddamn language of fucking respect that I'm talking about, other than people that I fucking make up with in these goddamn conversations. And the only extent to which they get it, the only degree to which they get it, not even the full thing, is to the degree that they are selfishly getting my fucking valuable time to play with them, to then shut me down a second time. Go fuck yourself. God